communication and collaboration. Can you give us a little more input on that?
So when we released Yammer about 5 or 6 years ago, it was really to try to help structure the communication a little bit better outside of email, because folks were just getting this long stream of email. Yammer is a good, I would say a good stopgap measure in that it is not to solve all of our communications problems and communications efforts. As a social media platform, it does help us structure things in such a way that if I subscribe to certain groups and channels, I can receive that information very, very easily and actually track the threads a lot more easily than I could in email. So there are some really good aspects to Yammer that we are wanting to make sure that folks actually understand and how to better use Yammer and get the greatest benefit out of it.
Okay, and then of course first comes to first, they have to access Yammer, and they can do that through portal.office.com through the Office 365 suite. Or I just found out this morning before airing that they have put Yammer on the self-service tool for the Mac appliances and in Software Center for the Windows-based managed devices here on campus. So that's exciting. So again, you can go to portal.office.com, log in with your college credentials, access the application menu, and then choose Yammer and go from there. Or, like I mentioned, you can go onto the self-service, the software center for Windows machines and the self-service for Mac devices and download Yammer as the application itself. So there in a nutshell is an easy way to access that type of information.
Yeah, it actually becomes a lot like Outlook at that point in time. You have a separate application for Yammer, which, you know, most of the folks around campus actually believe that to get access to Yammer, you have to go through MyCFC. And that's not the case. Actually, if I had to go through MyCFC to get access to Yammer, I wouldn't do it. So using the application or going to portal.office.com is actually the better way to do that.
Absolutely. And you mentioned just a minute ago, you kind of touched on how you can follow different groups. Is there a specific reason why you would want to follow a group?
So there are 132 groups out there, Yammer groups out there. Some of them are private, most of them are public. They're broken out into some very logical groups in the sense that, like, each school has its own Yammer group. There's also one for faculty staff announcements and things like that. So a lot of times it's a full demographic of faculty staff announcements, or there's one for events. It depends on what you want to track. And so you can go out and say, I want to follow this group, but if you stop there, you then have to go to Yammer every time and check Yammer to see if there's been any updates. What you can do then is to go, there's a little section there to say, send me an email message when the Yammer group has been updated. And then there's some configuration things to make it so that you can get it right away, or maybe at the sort of through a digest format. But there are different ways of getting that information. But there are 132 groups to choose from, and depending on what you want to follow, I follow probably about 20, and I get notifications when those particular groups are updated.
Right. And there's actually a couple groups that I want to point out today too. We have a Yammer 101 group and a Yammer help group. So if you're not sure of what to do, then those are good places to go to. And then of course we do have the sandbox, which is just a platform and a test environment type of thing where you can test things and try things without actually putting it out to the masses that way. So it's nice to know that those are there. And again, that's following a group, but I'm sure you're aware of it, but I wanted to point out to our audiences that you can also follow people, individuals, or you can follow topics. So let's say I know for example, the Carta Express route, bus 1, the Express 1, actually starts a new parking lot tomorrow. So that would be a good communication to go out to a different group or another. And you can search by topics and find the information that way. So that's always exciting. And you know, one of my favorite things about Yammer is you can go in and you can edit your posts.
Yes.
If you make a grammar error or if you leave something out, it's nice to be able to go in.
Which some of us do on occasion.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Some of us do on occasion make a mistake.
I've actually edited almost 100% of the posts I put out there. I'll read it, think it's done, and then
Oh, I
crud,
didn't put that in there.
missed something or have a typo or something like that.
Absolutely. And then there's, along with the groups and the topics that you can follow, there's also different types of posts that you can make. And I know if you're an owner of a group or an IT administrator, you can make an announcement, but the other types of posts are available too. Do you remember what they are?
So like in my particular group, the CIO Corner, I treat that more as a blog. And so, and the nice thing about that is, and it enables the stakeholders, that's faculty or staff, that's who it's available to be able to respond to that and ask me questions and clarifications on that. So there's blogging, so there's announcements, there's events, there's news, and then there's just general chats, and then some of the groups are actually around, they are around, they're selling things and things like that, so that there's a number of ways to use Yammer, and it makes it so that we can structure the communication so that I'm not getting everything to everyone that on things I'm not interested in.
Absolutely.
And so there's some opportunities there. Something that I just learned recently is much like Twitter, where you can do hashtag, Yammer can also do subject. You can put a subject into it or meta tag into it so that folks can actually search by that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then another thing that is new to Yammer due to a Microsoft update is the question and answer.
Yes.
So it's a really, really neat feature. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but what you can do is you can type out a question, and then as readers post replies to that particular question, you can actually move the best answer to the top. And what happens if another best answer comes along? You just go in and make the swap, and then you'll have a new best answer. So it's a great way to find information and get the word out to do things. So that's one of the new application improvements that Microsoft has made.
I think we need to add one more component to this. You all spent last month on talking about Microsoft Teams and what Teams can do. Yammer and Teams can work hand in hand. And so the discussion area of Teams, you can actually bring in and basically subscribe to a group. And anytime a group posts something in Yammer, it would be added to the discussion in Teams. And there could be discussion that would go back and forth. So there's some tight integration there.
Absolutely. One of the things that I mentioned in the Yammer training that I held earlier is it's kind of like when you go to the ophthalmologist and you had to pick that one or two, which one is best. And as you fine tune it, it gets harder and harder to choose which one you like. Well, the good thing about Yammer and Teams is you don't have to choose. You can use both of them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a nice way
but,
to
but
talk
I would
about
actually
that.
I would actually go on to say that Teams really is around knowledge management and structuring knowledge management, and Yammer is around the communication around that.
So yes, those are good things to keep aware of. So what is your favorite aspect of Yammer?
Well, I think the ability to structure the communication and target the communication in ways that as folks begin to understand what they can get out of it, they can actually get what they want and get it delivered to them in the way that they want it delivered to them. And so it's very individual and it
Focused.
and focused so that I'm not getting 100 email messages through some other, like an email account, a listserv or something like that. I'm getting it through some structured way, and I can tailor. I'm getting 150 messages now. How do I focus those? And Yammer helps do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, before we wrap it up, I do want to remind our audience that we do have some additional Yammer trainings available. On the 23rd in Addlestone Library 227, we will have a training session from 10:30 to 11:30 with a 30-minute follow-up activity. If you want to hang on with us a little bit longer than that, we'll work on maybe taking your picture for your profile for Yammer, or we can have a little fun hands-on activity on how to discover the groups that might be available. And so keep you aware of that. And then again, on July 31st, we'll have another episode of our webinar Wednesdays. And again, it will focus on Yammer as well, and it's from 9:30 to 10:30. So if you're interested in either of those events, you can go ahead and email hamtl@cfc.edu. use our live Facebook post and post a reply, or you can follow the conversation on Yammer or Teams. So I hope you keep up with us. And again, I want to remind you that we do have social media platforms on, of course, Facebook at CFCIT, Twitter at CFCIT, and Instagram at CFC_IT. So make sure you follow us and watch us. And we do have a YouTube account with some training videos on there as well. And you can find us College of Charleston Information Technology. So thanks for watching. I really want to thank the Sciences and Math department for offering to use the beautiful surroundings that we're in today. And Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day. Thanks everybody. Until our next episode of Tech Talk Tuesday. We'll see you. That episode's about OneDrive.